if you leave my speech with an understanding that success is overcoming obstacles on the way to your dreams, that's what I want.
What's happening, everybody, and welcome back to the Funky Brain Podcast. My name is Dennis Berry, and this is my Funky Brain, and this is my happy meditating dog who's helped keeping us all peaceful. And I haven't named him yet. Maybe we can come up with a name for that. But today I'm honored and privileged to have an NFL legend on the show with me, a linebacker for the Denver Broncos from 1983 to 1994, six-time Pro Bowler, Mr. Karl Mecklenburg. How are you today, sir?
I'm great, Dennis. How are you?
I am doing pretty great myself, just trying to stay sane in the midst of all the isolation. And how are you handling all that?
You know, I'm getting to some things that I haven't done. I wrote a blog about this yesterday, and that when I thought about the lockdown and I've never been in this situation before, that's not true. I've been injured before where I couldn't work. I had no possibility to do anything other than just try to get better. And it's happened. Shoot, I've had 18 football-related surgeries. It happened many, many times. I didn't know if I'd be able to come back. I didn't know if, I'd have to find a different career. I didn't know what was going to happen. But I could concentrate on what I could do now. And that's what I've been doing. I've been contacting past clients, trying to support them in any way I can. I've been writing things on LinkedIn and on Facebook. I've been really busy, truthfully, and I work out of my home anyway. I do about 40 keynotes a year all around the country, so I'm on the plane, but when I'm home, I'm in my office and I'm working here.
Yeah, that's really great. It's interesting. One thing you said about all the surgeries and everything, I was taught never pray for patience because God will give you something to be patient about.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, right now we should all be praying for some sort of cure for this thing. That to me, and my daughter works in data analytics, and they're out there working hard trying to figure this thing out.
I know, and I had a guest on yesterday who was Dr. Jerry Goldhaber, and he's pretty involved in the medical world, and he was saying, like, it could take some time. You can't just say, oh, here's a cure, here's a pill, here's a vaccine. They have to test these things and make sure that they're not harmful. And it's going to be, I think we have a long road ahead of us, but I think there's coping skills that we need to do. And you said one, it's like, stay busy, keep working, keep doing things.
Sure. Yeah. It's, you gotta be on it. I have, a list of people that I've worked with in the past, or I look forward to working with in the future, and I'm contacting them, like I said, and supporting them in any way I can, and trying to expand. And when this thing does get better, and ultimately it will, we'll move forward. But it's you're right. It's a scary thing. It's a scary thing to really not know when it's going to end.
Yeah, it really is scary. Yeah, and but we're going to find out that, one, there are new ways of doing things, and two, that there's a purpose for everything. So there is a reason it's all happening, and we'll find that out at some point. But before we get started, I asked my brother-in-law if he wanted me to ask you anything, since you were like one of his heroes growing up, and he said, ask him if he'll come suit back up.
I am 59 and a half years old, just short of that 60 where the coronavirus is going to wipe me out, right? But no, I'm way too old for football. I'm not Tom Brady. I can't stand
Interesting analogy there. But yeah, well, I was thinking that you probably wouldn't, because I know that you were part of the NFL concussion discussions and all that stuff that went.
Sure.
And what I read was really interesting. You said, I knew going in my body was going to be banged up and my joints and bones, but I didn't know my brain was going to be banged up too.
In retrospect, obviously my brain's going to be banged up, but they had a lot of information. The NFL had a lot of information about long-term effects of concussions, and they kept it from us. When I get a concussion during a game, you come to the sidelines, trainer says, how many fingers? It's always 2. So you say 2 and you go back in. That was the protocol when I was playing football. So things have changed tremendously. Football is the safest it's ever been. When I have young parents ask me if they should allow their child to play football, my response is always, if you have a young man like I was who's going to run into things with his head anyway, you might as well have a helmet on and some supervision. So, I mean, they take care of the kids and the pro players now much more than they did when I was playing.
Well, that's great. And I know in the 25, 26 years that you've been out of the NFL that you do a lot of keynote speaking, motivational speaking, and you've also written some books. And is there one? I had to close my notes here because it was messing up the signal. So tell us about the one. I know there's one that inspires kids to stay busy.
Oh, yeah. It's called Heart of a Student Athlete, All Pro Advice for Competitors and Their Families. It's the same concepts I talk about when I'm speaking. These are keys to success that I learned in the NFL. Teamwork with leadership being the ultimate expression of teamwork. Courage, the courage to try new things, the courage to be decisive. Dedication, which I describe as hard work, constant learning, refusing to quit. Desire, that's that overriding dream, passion, mission. Honesty and forgiveness with yourself and self-evaluation and with others. And finally, goal setting, reasonable, short-term, specific steps to get you to those desires, those passions, those missions. So the book is based on those concepts. It's a series of stories. It's applicable, across the board. You don't have to be a sports fan to get something out of it. Like I said, it's targeted for young athletes and their families, but the concepts are universal.
Yes, they are. And I love that, like all the concepts you were just talking about. I wrote a book too, and it's called Funky Wisdom, and it's based on my crazy background. And I come from a background of sobriety and addiction and everything, but I talk about those principles a lot too. Honesty, open-mindedness, willingness, and the courage to do things that you want to do things differently than what got you to where you are if you're not in a good place, and then the willingness to keep doing those things.
Sure. Yeah, it's the truth is the truth. I mean, you can come at it from different angles, and I know when I go give a speech, I'm speaking to adults, I'm not telling them things they don't already know. I'm just coming at it from a different angle, reminding them of something that they're, not doing, not applying to that situation. I look at my job as, first of all, helping the meeting professional put on a memorable event, and secondly, to really spur people to action. And if I can get people to think about their lives and think about what they're doing and what they're not doing, I know I've done my job. And that's it's a fun thing. As a professional football player, you get that adrenaline. That's probably the thing I miss most from professional football. And coming back and finding that same adrenaline rush and that same desire and drive in the speaking world is something that was just amazing for me. I didn't know that I'd ever replace that, and it really has.
That's an interesting analogy. I think that comes from helping people. I think because getting out of one of our biggest problems just as humans is we're selfish by nature. And, there's people that are selfish on different levels. It's not always this horrible thing that there's a difference between taking care of yourself and being selfish. But you think about how good do you feel when you help somebody? And I think like somebody like you, who's inspired, millions of people, to stand up in front of them and say, here's a way that you can get better, do better, help more people, become more successful, have better relationships. I mean, you're using your celebrity, so to speak, in an awesome way to help people.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that, Dennis. It's an opportunity, and I think a lot of celebrities look at it as kind of a chore of like, I'm always on parade, or I'm always, instead of, wait a second, this is an opportunity. I can lend my name to a charity event, and all of a sudden they're making more money, and all I got to do is show up and shake some hands, or I can get up in front of a group and tell them what their mom's been telling them their whole life, and all of a sudden it makes sense to them. So I think a great opportunity.
It really is. So what inspired you, like originally, what inspired you afterwards to go down this path instead of saying, all right, well, I'm done with football, I don't have to do this stuff anymore? Like, what got you on that path to?
Well, yeah, it was interesting because I went fishing for a while. I did. I just and I got bored. Truthfully, I need to have something to do. I need to have a target, a passion, a mission, a place I'm trying to get to. I need that daily. So from my standpoint, I was looking for a way to replace that adrenaline, that interaction with other people, the ability to be on a team, all those things that went away when I got away from professional football. I found it in speaking. My father's an obstetrician. When they're delivering babies, they basically they wait around until the baby wants to get born, and so they're telling stories all the time. My dad's a great storyteller, and I grew up around that, so I already had that ability. I didn't really realize that being a professional speaker was a thing, but I got invited to a group called the National Speakers Association. And the National Speakers Association is a group of speakers that come together, and that's my team. That's the group of people that I hang out with. I got a mastermind group of specific 6 or 7 folks that I interact with a lot. But I'm with the other one. I was on a Zoom call yesterday with some NSA folks. So that's my team, and that they really taught me the business side of professional speaking and the technique side of professional speaking. I always could tell the stories, but tying them all together and heading them in the right direction was something I really didn't know about.
Interesting. Yeah, I do speaking too. I could probably use some more direction, but something you said was really important to me, at least, and I think for everybody, especially in the time we're in right now, and that's purpose. It's like, I think I spend a lot of time. You said I went fishing, so once that responsibility and that purpose that you had before is over, now what do I do? And I think that a lot of people get stuck in that, going fishing in that space, and then you just get stuck in life, and you're like, what's the meaning of all this anyway? I think we all need to have purpose. And when I did a podcast last week or 2 weeks ago, when all this started, on how to stay happy and healthy during this time. And for number one, you have to have purpose every day. You can't just sit around in your pajamas and eat cookies and watch TV throughout this isolation period. We need purpose. And if you don't have it, you have to create it. And I think
it's got to be purpose beyond finding some more toilet paper. It's got to be actual. This is going to help somebody else, or help my family, or help the community, or move people forward. To me, that's the key to purpose, where there's a place I'm trying to get to, and I'm relentless in that pursuit.
Yeah, that's really great. I thought we had a work meeting the other day, and we were saying what would be some tweets that you would put out after all this is over. And one of them was really funny. Here's the tweet: I survived 2020. Now what am I going to do with all this extra toilet paper? Yeah, I saw
online a meme where they had the zeros of 2020 as toilet paper rolls. So it was 2-0.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's funny what people gravitate to in times like this. And I think that was kind of an accident. I think that some people went shopping and they ran out of toilet paper, so it kind of turned into a thing, which is great for the toilet paper industry. I don't think that everybody needs to be doing all that, but
right.
But this is great. So what else is on your agenda coming up here? Let's say if we were to, like, this is going to take a little while, but what else is on your plans, your agenda in the upcoming?
Yeah, well, like I said, Dennis, was targeted at young athletes and their families. I'm in the process of putting together another book. It's something I've thought about for a long time, but I didn't have time to do it. All of a sudden, I got a lot of time to do it. So I'm I'm working on that a little bit. Like I said, I'm doing more blogging, more LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, all that kind of stuff. My taxes paid, stuff that I got to do anyway. That has been kind of sitting back there thinking. So yeah, I'm working. Obviously, doing some podcasts, which is fun.
And staying busy and doing things that are fun. Like tonight, we're doing a canvas and cocktails class. We're doing it remotely, so we're gonna set up. We got easels, we have paint, and so my son has autism, and we've been to a couple of canvas and cocktails with him, and it's not like super easy, but it's cool because we have flexibility in our house. Hopefully there's not going to be paint all over the place that we don't want, but it's about creating excitement and opportunities, even when you're stuck inside and it seems like purposeless. There are things that you can do. So you have to find ways to stay busy. And
I agree. Yeah, I agree. And it's not wait until this thing goes away, because nobody knows when it's going to go away, and if it goes away, when it's going to come back, and what the long-term effects are going to be. Life is short. Like I said, I'm almost 60 years old, and life is short. I don't have time to wait around for 3 months or whatever this thing's gonna drag on. I got things to do, and I believe that everybody does. Whatever you've put off because you're too busy, or whatever you've thought about doing, and now wait a second. You got to look at it as an opportunity. There is opportunity in positive and negative things, and people should look at it that way. Yeah, I've had 7, 8 cancellations of speeches up to this point, and so no money's coming in, and that's I'm not complaining. That's just the way it is. I've got to figure out a way to impact people's lives in a different direction, whether it's through writing, whether it's through these type of interviews, however I can. And when we come out of that, there'll be opportunity.
That's awesome. When you're doing your speeches, since you had a bunch cancel, maybe you could share some of your content, some of your lessons, most valuable lessons that you share in those speeches.
Yeah. To me, if you leave my speech with an understanding that success is overcoming obstacles on the way to your dreams, that's what I want. The other thing I want you to realize that, everybody can look at a game on television, whether it's a football game or a baseball game or a basketball, whatever, a sports event on television, and see who's acting like a team and who's not acting like a team. They can identify that pretty quickly, but they don't see that in their own lives. They don't think, oh, well, my family's a team. My business is a team. My community is a team. I want them to relate to the team thing when they step out of that place and say, okay, wait a second. It's not just athletes who are on teams. We're all on teams. And those teams operate best when you think of them as teams, and there's leadership at all different levels throughout the organization. So just because you're not the CEO doesn't mean you can't be a leader. You can't influence the team. You can't make a big difference to the team. You have to think about the team first and be a leader. I see leadership as clarity and consistency of your connection to the cornerstones of a team. The cornerstones of the team are the purpose of the team. I was drafted in 1983. A guy named Edgar Kaiser owned the Denver Broncos at the time. Edgar Kaiser was a financier from Edmonton. He didn't know anything about football. He didn't care about football. This was an investment. He was never around. I don't think he would have recognized me if I passed him on the street. And then he sold the team to a guy named Pat Bowlen. Our cornerstone of our organization when I played for the Broncos under Edgar Kaiser was to make Edgar Kaiser money. That was it. When Pat bought the team, things changed. It became apparent pretty quickly that our purpose, our cornerstones were serving the community and winning championships. That's what we were there to do. And we all knew it. And if we didn't fit within those parameters, we weren't around. So there was clarity and consistency of the cornerstones of that organization. This is what we're here to do. The team passion, the team mission is a little different from that cornerstone. It's a day-to-day thing. Like if you asked Pat Bowlen what he thought our record was going to be before a season started, he'd always say 16-0. And if we were halfway through the season and we lost two games, it was going to be 14-2. We were there to win each game. So each day we were supposed to focus on anything we could that would help the team win that week. And win or lose, same thing the next week. You never saw the Broncos tanking at the end of the season to try to get better draft position or anything like it. We were there to win each week, right? So that was our team passion, the commitment, the team passion, the team mission. And then the third thing is connection, the clarity and consistency of a leader's connection to his teammates. Does he know you? Is he there? And Pat, when Pat bought the team, he just hung out. I mean, he was in the weight room. He was in the training room. He was on the practice field. He knew my wife's name and my kids' names. He knew who I am. I mean, there was no question that he was involved and understood who the people on his team were and what they were capable of. And we understood what he was there for. We were there to win championships. We were there to serve the community, and that connection is huge. So many leaders think they can't mix with the people that they're working with. They try to separate themselves. They try to make it so it doesn't hurt when they have to fire somebody or don't want to get to know somebody until they've been there long enough that they're already up in the C-suite and all that. That's not how you do it. That connection allows you to use the strengths of the individual to help the team, use the strengths of the team to cover for the weaknesses of the individual. If you don't know the individual, there's no way you can function that way. And great leaders always are able to do that. What did the New England Patriots do other than cheat? Bill Belichick is as good a guy as I've ever seen of understanding the strengths and weaknesses of his team, putting them in a situation to be successful. 6 or 7 years ago, they had a 4 tight end offense that they ran most of the year. Never seen it before in my life. Nobody runs a 4 tight end offense, but he got into training camp and said, 4 of my best offensive players are tight ends. We're going to build a system around their strengths and allow them to be successful. And because he allows his individuals to be successful, it helps the team become successful.
Yeah, that's really great. It's about adapting to the situation. And everything you just shared is really awesome. When you're talking about a team, right now we're on Team Earth.
Right. Yeah, that the focus of Team Earth, the purpose is to try and get through this thing and figure out a way to keep as many people healthy and alive as we possibly can.
Yeah, and the only way to really do that is to stay together. And we have a common purpose is to get through it as good as possible and get to the other side. And then going back to purpose, it's like staying on purpose, having a schedule when you wake up in the morning, whatever that is. Even if you don't have work to do, put exercise on your schedule, put reading, do something purposeful. So when we do come out of this, you don't have to fix yourself. You don't have to lose 50 pounds because you're eating cookies all day. And you have to stay strong. Persistence is.
Sure. Yeah. And if you make it intentional, I have a routine I go through in the morning. I get up, I do a little Bible study. I think about what, my desires, my passions, my missions are. I'm like I said, I'm not Tom Brady. I can't still play. I have other desires, passions, missions than being the greatest player that ever played the game. Because that was my desire, my passion for a long time. Now it's to inspire long-term positive change in teams and individuals as a speaker and an author, to give unconditional, uncompromising love to my family. And I want to have everything I say and do reflect God's love. Those are my desires, my passions, my missions. I get up every morning. I think about who I'm going to meet, how I'm going to influence them, what I can do to make a difference in their lives. And because I go into every situation already having thought about those things, when I get in an opportunity to make a difference, I'm ready. I can be decisive. I can move. A lot of people, just kind of drift through life, and all these opportunities come by, but they haven't thought about them ahead of time, so they don't know what to do, and they don't react. One of my keys to success is have the courage to be decisive. Take that first step before anybody else does. I run a 4.940. I was the 310th pick of the NFL draft because I was too slow to play in the NFL. But I found out early on, if I took the first step in the right direction before anybody else did, all the angles would change in my favor. Tight end couldn't pin me in. The guard couldn't cut me off. The fullback couldn't keep me from getting the line of scrimmage. Everything changed just because I took that first step. And how do you take that first step? It's through being decisive. It's through already having thought about it before you get in that situation and reacting in an appropriate way. So decisiveness is huge.
Yeah, and it's clear that your passion for football into your life now. And that's really important too, is to stay on purpose, find, like, you were the best at what you did. And now I can see you carrying that into what you do now to continue to be the best at what you're doing. And then having that passion with your spirituality and your family. Like, it's really interesting when I look back at my history with alcoholism and addiction, what I say when I was young, it's like I was under the impression life had to be fun all the time. And when I think about what was fun back then, it was, playing pool, whiskey and cocaine and girls. Like, it was all that stuff. And that was what was fun. And it was always like that high rush energy, skiing real fast. And now what I say is that, I still want life to be fun all the time, but it's my idea, my perception of what's fun has changed. And now what's fun is like spending time with my family. We're going to paint tonight. That's fun. Going to the movies, having date night. That's fun. Taking care of myself, the challenge of exercise and eating properly. That's fun to me. I enjoy that now. So my idea of what's fun has changed. And I think it happened to you. Your passions have changed, but you're still just as strong.
Yeah, no doubt about it. You're an old man, and I retired at 34. Retired from the NFL. My son's a lawyer here in town. He turned 34 this last year, so I was teasing him. What are you doing? I retired at 34. Yeah, he's just getting going. Everybody's going to have to take a little bit of a redirection through this COVID thing, whether it's finding a different job, whether it's learning things that they're not comfortable with, like Zoom or whatever. We're all having a change. Coach Reeves was my head coach for 8 years, and once a year, usually after a loss, but sometimes after a win, he'd call us all together as a team, and in his Georgia drawl, he'd say, "Now, man, you're either getting better or you're getting worse. You can't stay the same." Dan said a lot of things I'm still trying to figure out, but that's pretty true. Change is inevitable. It's going to happen. It's happening a lot faster than we're comfortable with right now, but you've got to be able to thrive through change. There's opportunity in change. I know it's real easy to focus on the negative side, but there's real opportunity in change.
There is, yeah, and that's ancient wisdom. That comes from Buddha or whoever thousands of years ago. A lot of the spiritual ideas that we talk about, they're not new. There's nothing new going on here. The only difference between now and then is that we have iPhones. Everything else was the same. We've been human beings for thousands of years.
I don't have to remember anything anymore. I can just look it up on my iPhone. I have no idea what my son's phone number is. I just push, Luke on there and it pops up. So.
Well, people are like, what are you doing next Wednesday? I'm like, I don't know. Whatever my phone tells me I'm doing,
So those concussions are no big deal.
Yeah, there's reminders everywhere. But oh wait, what were we just talking about there?
We were talking about the courage to be decisive.
Oh yeah, well yes, to be decisive, but the change thing is like the only constant in life is change. Like the tough times don't last, neither do the good times. Like everything changes, and it's about being able to adapt. And then being decisive is an awesome principle to follow. It's like make a decision and then head towards that decision and then stay with it. Those obstacles you were talking about, they're not there to kill you. They're there to make you stronger.
Sure. Yeah.
Your perception of what's in front of you that determines the outcomes.
Yeah. It's life's not easy. And I know people want it to be. It's not. I'm a Christian, like I said. One of the things that is real difficult, I think, for for spiritual people is they feel like God's role is to help make their life easy. And it's not. I mean, if you read the Bible and terrible, horrible, mean, nasty things happen to everybody in the Bible. Even Christ himself gets crucified. It's not going to be easy. But if you try to find the purpose in it, and if you pursue that passion, that mission that God's put on your heart, you can make a huge difference in this world, and you can have that fulfillment that you're looking for. But it's not. It's not easy. It's not supposed to be easy.
Yeah, those obstacles. Look, I think one of the reasons I think that all this is happening is I think it's God slowing us down. I think that the world got real fast. We got real crazy. And I think God is like, hey, everybody calm down. We're here. We all need to calm down for a few months and reevaluate our values and our purpose. And what are we doing? I think that a lot out of this, we're going to find new purpose. We're going to find new compassion for people. And we're going to find new direction for ourselves. I mean, there's going to be a lot of changes that come out of it. And we don't even know what those are yet. But just staying focused and staying on that path is going to help.
Having the time that everybody has now with their family, with their loved ones, and going through shared experiences of need, shared experiences of loss, because I'm sure those are coming too. I've got 3 family members at this point who have the virus, and it's not, I mean, not immediate family, but it's common, whether they're, and I just found out about all 3 of them yesterday, but it's common. It's here, and it's going to hit everybody's life in one way or another, beyond just the economic thing, beyond just the, I've got to stay home thing, and my life's going to change thing. It's a really tough time from that standpoint too. But when you go through tough times together, that's when you grow closer. That's when you really find those purposes. This is what I'm here for. So look for those things. Think about those things as you're going through whatever challenges this COVID thing throws at you.
Yeah. What I found in my life, to piggyback on what you were just saying, is that those periods of growth and awakening came from pain of some sort. There was change in my life that I didn't like, or there was just too much pain for a long period of time. And out of that came the growth and the awakening. And then the realizations of what's really important in life. Like my mom, I'm sorry to hear these things about your mom, your family, 3 family members. My mom was just on an African safari for 3 weeks. And so she just got home, and she lives in the Ken Carroll area. And she just got home, I think Tuesday or Wednesday. And I'm like, I mean, I'm staying positive, but she had to fly through 4 airports, and she was hanging out in Africa. And my mind goes into some funky places where I'm like, I'm like hoping she's okay. And so it's like I'm operating heavy right now, because I'm like thinking, like, I can't imagine what you must have felt like to hear 3 family members have this right now.
Yeah, it's once again, I think it's going to touch everybody. Hopefully they've caught it early and they know what's going on, and it's so weird though. I mean, your doctor says, yeah, we've probably got it, but we can't really test you. just stay home and stay away from other people, and make sure your fever doesn't get too high.
It's a strange time for everybody. But what's funny about my mom is she's a pain in the butt, and she's a tough person, but she likes to stay in anyway. So we were like, Mom, when you come home, you're going to have to isolate for 2 weeks. And she goes, no problem. I'll do it for 30 days.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can go on a safari in Africa, and I've done it before. It's pretty cool. If you ever get that opportunity, do it. But I didn't go for 3 weeks. Because you're out, you're in the outback. There's a lot more animals around than people. That's for sure when you're doing one of those.
Yeah, she was in South Africa, and she was sending videos of elephants and lions and giraffes and hippos. It was a trip of a lifetime for sure.
Oh, it's a really neat thing. I spoke at the Global Speakers Summit in South Africa, and before I spoke at that conference, my wife and I and my dad and his wife and our youngest son all did the photo safari throughout Africa, South Africa, called Zulu Natal is the area we were at. Beautiful. I mean, we've all seen giraffes and elephants and stuff at the zoo. These things aren't anything like that. These are big, buff animals that are fighting to survive. I mean, it's a whole different ballgame when you're out there in the wilds. I mean, it was really neat.
Interesting. Yeah, I've still yet to get there because whenever we have time for vacation and we're like, all right, let's go, and we always end up at the beach because I don't want to do anything. There's a difference between like vacations and trips. Like when I go, I just want to not do anything. I don't want to be on a schedule, or I'm not big in like the sightseeing so much. I love animals and I would love to go do that, and I will someday. But right now I kind of like swimming in the blue water and toes in the white sand, kind of relaxing thing.
Yeah, that's a good time too. There's all kinds of opportunities, and they're going to open back up, down the line, and hopefully we'll all have those opportunities coming up again. It's just not today.
Yeah, but if we stay strong, it'll be here before we know it. Yeah. Yep. Awesome. Well, Karl, thank you so much, man. I really enjoyed our time. I hope you did too. And did you have any questions for me? I'm the big movie star here.
Do I have questions? Yeah. You said you've been sober 17 years. Is that what you said?
April 8th, God willing.
Yeah, 17 years. That's an amazing thing. Was there a specific situation, a specific incident that really turned everything, or was it more of a gradual thing?
That is interesting. Well, it was one of those things where when a lot of it you don't realize until later, like why I did all that behavior. And some of it I'm still learning now. But, early on it was fun. It was wild and crazy lifestyle. And then it turned into not so much fun, but I didn't stop for years after that. And then it was just at the end, my life was falling apart and I was dying. And I couldn't drink anymore, and I couldn't not drink anymore. It was a really scary, sad place to be. And somehow I ended up losing. In fact, you know what? This is really ironic. So I worked for Cisco Food Service.
Yeah.
In downtown Denver was my territory. And March 27th, which is today, March 27th, 2003. It was when, remember we had that big snowstorm with like 4
Oh,
yeah. I lost my job on March 27th, 17 years ago, and today. And this day always sticks in my mind. And I was sad and crying and upset, and I just couldn't stop drinking. And so I went on a bender for about 10 days until I just couldn't go anymore. And on April 8th, which is 10 days from now-ish, something like that, 10 or 11 days, I woke up from a bender, and I had a girlfriend at the time, and she came into my apartment and she said, this isn't going to work. And I just started crying. I said, I can't stop. I don't know what to do. And I was dying. And she was instrumental in helping me get into a rehab here over in Parker. And I was there for 30 days, and I've been sober ever since.
Wow. So it was, you hit rock bottom.
I hit rock bottom. No, I lost the job, the health. In fact, if you were to, I'll send you a picture of me back then. So right now, I've been eating cookies a little bit in isolation. I'm about 180 or so, but when I stopped drinking, I was about 240 pounds, and I had dark circles under my eyes. And
that's skinny meat, 240 pounds.
Yeah, you're a big man.
Wow. Yeah, it's.
But what I had to learn was that, at first it's about not drinking, because I was killing myself physically. But what I've learned, it's about growing up. So I had to grow up, and a lot of people fail in sobriety because it's hard, first of all. And they don't realize it's not just about stopping the harmful behavior. It's about learning new ways to live. And that
Yeah,
gets,
you got to replace the behavior. You don't have to stop it. You have to find something that's more fulfilling. It's more appropriate for who you are. And you know, I've never had an issue there, but I have had to change. Everybody does, and as you go through life, you need to realize where you're at. And the only way that happens is through reflection. It's through, like I said, every morning I get up and I think about what's important to me. And if I didn't do that, I would find myself drifting away from where I want to get to. I mean, if there's a place you want to get to, a desire, a passion, a mission in your life, then you can set goals, reasonable, short-term, specific steps to get to that thing. If you don't know where you're going, you are definitely not going to get there. I mean, I have dyslexia. I'm lost all the time. If it wasn't for GPS, I'd be done, right? So I think that's what it's like for people who don't have that purpose, that mission, that place they're trying to get to, where it's really easy to fall into those negative behaviors and find yourself drifting off in a direction you had no idea you were going in, and you really don't want to be there. One of the great things about having this downtime is it allows you to reflect. It's where, think about, where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 3 years? Whatever, however far out you want to space it, and then start taking some actions to move towards those things.
Great point. And I'd say, look at where you want to be in 3 to 5 years, find out the steps to take, and then set those goals and then back out of those goals and take each step. I think it's a book. It's called, If You Don't Know Where You're Going, You're Going to End Up Someplace Else.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's pretty obvious if you think about it, but there are a lot of people who know exactly where they're going and are doing everything they possibly can to get there. If you're trying to get somewhere, and to me, why set a desire, a passion, a mission if it's not something extravagant? I mean, I describe them, a desire, as an extravagant, long-term, specific, extravagant, long-term, general place. Like, I want to be the greatest football player that ever played the game. That's where I was going for a long time. Now I have these other desires, passions, missions. They're general things, but they're extravagant things. Everything I say and do reflects God's love. That's an extravagant thing. It's not a little tiny target. A little tiny target is a step of I'm going to be in prayer today about this virus, or I'm going to think about doing something for my church because they can't have people in the church right now. So maybe I'll get on one of these Skype things and help them from that standpoint. Whatever it is, those are specific, reasonable, short-term steps that you take. And that is a step after another step after another step to get to that desire. But first, you got to establish that desire. And the only way that happens is by really thinking about your life and spending some time in meditation and prayer and however you handle that.
That is a huge fear for a lot of people, to sit still in your own thinking. And I think a lot of people can't handle that. And I think that's where the drugs and alcohol and food and sex and all those other behaviors take the place of reflection. It's hard to sit still and look at yourself and listen to your thoughts and calm your thinking down. So people are like, I can't do that. So after 30 seconds, they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm going to go get some cookies.
Once again, there's opportunity in any sort of situation. And one of the opportunities you have in this situation is to spend some time with yourself.
Yeah. That's great. Well, again, Karl, thank you so much. This one, I really enjoyed our time together, and I hope you did too. And maybe we could do it again sometime.
Sounds great, Dennis. Take care now.
Awesome, man. Have
wash
a great
your hands.
Yes, I'm going to go wash my hands. Yeah.
Go wash your hands.
Social distancing.
There you go.
All right. Thanks. Have a great day.